There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we're terrified of it.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it, and big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, the History Channel finally premiered the episode that we were talking about since, I guess, late last year. They wanted to do a show about the Las Vegas alien incident. And initially, the episode was supposed to be a full episode about this. It was supposed to be a full 1 hour long episode of Ancient Aliens that focused solely on the 2023 Las Vegas alien incident. That's how when they actually, people from the History Channel had contacted Scott Roeder, and they wanted to do this episode. They said it was going to be the very first episode of the season. And they actually had the family, the Kenmore family, where they were supposed to participate. And also they're going to show the video clips, some of the things that I've been showing on here. But then apparently the family changed their minds for some reason. And they didn't want to do the show anymore. They turned it down. And also because of that, apparently the History Channel wasn't allowed to use the 1 minute and 41 second long cell phone footage where you see the aliens, that was filmed by the mother, Contra Kenmore. Of course, just a real quick recap of what this incident involves. Of course, there was an object that came down from the sky just before midnight on April 30th, 2023. And then shortly after midnight on May 1st, 2023, there was a 911 call made to the Las Vegas Metro Police Department from Angel Kenmore and his father, Bobby Kenmore, requesting help because they said there were aliens in their backyard. This object, whatever it was captured on various different cameras, as we've talked about a number of times on this show. It made a hard landing in the backyard of the Kenmore family in Las Vegas, and then they heard what sounded like thousands of footsteps all over the place. That's what Angel Kenmore said. And then they saw these tall alien creatures, 8 to 10 feet tall. And he said that they definitely weren't human. We've talked about this case ad nauseum. But then when the police showed up, apparently everything was gone. The police investigated the backyard. There's actually body cam footage that shows the police arriving on the scene and interviewing the witnesses at some point during the early morning hours of May 1st, 2023. But then there was also body cam footage when they go into the backyard, about 16 minutes worth. We never got to see that. That's been covered up, I guess. I don't know what else to say at this point. But anyway, so the History Channel, they actually brought Scott Roeder over. They actually paid him a fee to appear on their show. Paid all of his expenses to fly to Los Angeles. He runs his his evidence room company from Ohio. He's, of course, Roeder's a crime scene reconstruction expert, so he agreed to appear on the show. They flew him over. And then they told him that they weren't going to be able to use some of the footage, and the family wasn't going to participate any longer. And but they filmed it anyway. They said they're going to see what they can do. And now this new episode, it was called Aliens in Our Midst. Actually, episode number 14. And it premiered finally. And, actually Scott Roeder had contacted me saying that some people in his family had said they saw it. And so he didn't get to see it yet at the time. And so I actually watched it this afternoon, Saturday afternoon. I couldn't believe what I saw. Basically, Scott Roeder actually had interview with when he went to Los Angeles. He was interviewed by Ancient Aliens. They interviewed him for almost 3 hours. And the biggest thing that he was talking about was of course the evidence that you find in that 1 minute and 41 second long cell phone footage that was filmed by the family. The History Channel's new Ancient Aliens episode number 14, has nothing in there about it. In fact, they waited to the very end of the episode. They only talked about the Las Vegas case for 2 minutes. They only used, wait to hear this, 10 seconds. They only used 10 seconds right, of Scott Roeder's interview. That was it. They used 10 seconds of him talking about the meteor that everyone says it was a meteor, the object that came down from the sky. That was it. They didn't talk about anything else. They didn't even name the Kenmores, even though the Kenmore family told the police in their 911 call that, yeah, our last name is Kenmore. They didn't even use the name of the family. They just referred to Angel Kenmore as caller, the caller. And they didn't even talk about the 1 minute and 41 second long cell phone footage. They didn't talk about Roeder's analysis, any of it, none of it. This is the same kind of thing that happened almost similarly, actually, I would say, to the episode on another different show on the History Channel. The Proof is Out There. In June, if you remember, they ran an episode about where one of the segments discussed the Las Vegas alien incident, and these experts for The Proof is Out There determined that the object that came down from the sky was a meteor, and that the claims that there were aliens in the backyard was unfounded. That's what they said at the end of the show. And now here we have this other program from the History Channel, Ancient Aliens. This is the 21st season, and they waited till episode 14 to talk about this case. It was only 2 minutes. 2 minutes. The episode was interesting, but again, the problem I have, everything that they present, there's always like wiggle room for a debunker to say, well, this could be that, could be this, could be it. There's not enough information here. Things like that. Like here's some of the things they had. This woman on, Lily Nova from Missouri, who has been filming some orbs and weird objects, and she claims she has communication with aliens. They talked about that, but again, it's you can't say 100%, right? It's not like the Las Vegas case. They also had an expert on, Michael Bradbury, a video expert, along with Travis Taylor Dr. Travis Taylor, who's on the Skinwalker Rad show. They were looking at different videos, like that one from the jellyfish UFO that was filmed over a military base in Iraq back in 2017. They looked at that. They talked about the possibility that there could be that object moving across the screen in that video was there could be an alien in there. They talked about that. They talked about one of the videos from Lily Nova, where there might be an alien you might see there, right? But it's inconclusive. And they also brought up the January 1st, 2024 Miami Mall incident, and they showed that video really far away where there might be something there, and they said there might be an alien walking there. There was like 5 different people that reported seeing aliens, and that was the real reason police showed up in force at the Miami Mall on New Year's Day in 2024. The reason that they showed up like that was because there were aliens there showing up, materializing, out of thin air, basically. And there was video that they looked at that in this episode, and they said, "Oh, it's inconclusive." It is inconclusive. The Miami incident has been inconclusive. None of these cases provide the level of evidence that the Las Vegas alien incident provides. So here we are again. I've talked about this before. This is something that's been getting suppressed. This case, there's no question about it. I'm surprised that the History Channel's Ancient Aliens episode even mentioned it. If they can't tell the whole story, or you're telling not even a half-assed version of it, well, why even go there? Why even talk about it? It's incredible to me. But for people who have been following this channel, I mean, we've laid it out. I mean, it's there. The evidence is there. There's no question about it whatsoever. But yet, here we go again. The History Channel again. It's another. See, here's the thing. If that program, Ancient Aliens, that's an entertainment kind of program. This is my feeling on this. And so they can't show the footage. They gotta get the rights to it, because that Ancient Alien show, that's not providing any proof. That's just designed to entertain people. It's UFO-tainment. That's what it is. So, and same thing with The Proof is Out There. UFO-tainment, right? It's a big business. That's what it seems like. And I'm not sure if it's because, the second that they tell the world, hey, yeah, this is real. Here, we finally got the proof now. Well, maybe that's not what they want. Maybe they don't want to go that way, because then this way they like to keep it a mystery. They'd rather keep this all a big mystery, right? That's what it seems like. Now, I did contact Scott Roeder today, and he's been busy with some things, but I did send him some questions, and he provided me some written answers to them, and I'm going to go over them right now. And this is we'll go over each question and each answer individually here. And, also I want to point out, speaking of Scott Roeder, he has his own podcast that he has on Spotify and on YouTube. It's called Crime Scene Time Machine. And I'm going to leave links, just so everyone knows, in the description for two of his more recent episodes. One called Sky Emergency, and another one called One Small Step, about the moon landing in 1969. He talks about that in one of his latest episodes. So don't forget to check the links in the description for Scott Roeder's Crime Scene Time Machine and see what he has to say about those topics. Anyway, I asked him this question. I said, ancient aliens used only 10 seconds of a 2-hour interview that you participated in, and they only discussed the incident for 2 minutes. Considering the lackluster presentation on The Proof Is Out There with regard to this case, is the History Channel engaged in a suppression and or disinformation campaign when it comes to the Vegas alien case? And Roeder responded. He says, "I don't have direct evidence that the campaign is being suppressed due to secrecy, government cover-up, or anything similar. However, it certainly feels like that when I consider the following. I flew 4.5 hours to the location, which they paid for, and they also paid for me to stay in a very nice hotel for 2 nights. I then sat down and gave a 2, almost 3-hour interview where I covered every single thing I know about the Las Vegas alien case of May 1st, 2023. This included, but was not limited to, the UFO behavior, the crime scene methodology of interviewing and evaluating witness testimony, and of course, and most importantly, extensively on the 1 minute and 41 second long footage taken by the mother, which was the focus of my investigation. I compared and contrasted this footage with the other testimony and ultimately concluded that this event was real to a degree of scientific certainty and meets the burden of proof in any courtroom across America." And then the second question I asked Scott Roeder was, the History Channel initially planned to use the 1 minute and 41 second long cell phone footage filmed by Contra Kenmore, as well as interview the witnesses. What did they tell you later on about why they could not use the footage and why the family changed their mind about doing an interview? He wrote back, "Yes, the History Channel initially planned to use the footage. However, since they are not a news or educational organization, they are technically considered talent in format presentation reality show. This means that if the footage is not explicitly scripted, it is guided and intended for entertainment purposes only. When it comes to entertainment purposes and solely for profit, selling commercials on a network according to Hollywood's terms of use, you must license the material for a fee. The Kenmores did not want to license the material for profit to the History Channel for some reason, which is why they didn't use that 1 minute and 41 second long footage. This standard might also apply to still frames, but I don't believe it would apply for my evaluation of the footage because I was willing to license it to them to gain publicity and share the truth. However, they decided against that with their lawyers." So, yeah, okay, so this is if you're reporting news, that's what I'm trying to do on this. That's what's happening here. I'm reporting news, and with regard to this case, that's what this is, right? So the Kenmores actually uploaded. Actually, it was Angel Kenmore had uploaded this video to Reddit, just weeks after it happened, right? Within weeks, and said that there were aliens in there, right? Everybody and their grandmother who has a UFO channel was examining that footage and looking for the aliens and talking about it on their podcast, because it's news, right? Now because History Channel is, this is not news, this is UFO-tainment, so they have to pay for this, right? That's the difference here. This is fair use, right? What we're doing here, this is fair use. I'm reporting the reality that we're not alone because this video proves it, right? That 1 minute and 41 second long video proves it. They didn't even mention that. Again, the second time. This is the second show on the History Channel this year where they didn't even mention the 1 minute and 41 second long footage. It's the most important part of this whole story. And they didn't even talk about it. Again, twice. It's unbelievable, folks. Absolutely incredible. But then again, if you remember, just recently I did that show where I laid out how apparently the family looks like they've been getting harassed somewhat by these agents, right? I'm not going to get into all of that story again, but that's what it seems like, right? I'll leave a link for that episode so you can check it out. But, it seems like that's been the case here. There's these two weird-looking agents that not only were, going to the main Kenmore family, the ones that were the witnesses, right, but also to their extended family in other parts of the United States, as well as in Europe and in Brazil, right, and telling them to keep quiet about this. No wonder they didn't show up on the History Channel. Well, that must be what it is. It could be, right? I don't know. Because it's not showing up on any other programs out there, any other UFO-tainment programs. They're not using it. So it's being covered up, folks. That's what's happening here. It's being suppressed. This family apparently was scared into keeping quiet about this. Okay, then the third question I asked Scott Roeder, I said, during one telephone conversation you had with a representative of the History Channel, the person asked numerous questions about me. How long did this line of questioning last? And he goes, yes, they asked several questions about you, Jim, but about your show, about what role you played, things like that, and I just gave them the honest truth, and they did whatever they did with the information. However, I don't believe that they tried to contact you. No, they did not. Yeah, Scott told me that when this was going on, when he was initially talking to people at the History Channel, they at one point he said he got off the phone with them and he called me up. He said they were talking about me for some reason for like over an hour, right? But they never called me up. They never contacted me. They never asked for any input from me whatsoever. Not that it mattered. I'm not the crime scene reconstruction expert. I'm just some podcaster, former reporter. That's all I am. But they asked a lot of questions about me, but then they never contacted me. You know why? Because that I might upset their apple cart. I mean, they want to keep this a mystery, it seems. I don't know. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, this is the biggest story of all time, folks. There's no getting around it, right? And it's being suppressed. It's being covered up. No question about it. Let's see. For the fourth question I asked Scott, I said, the History Channel paid the expenses for you to fly to Los Angeles for an interview. How much money did they offer to induce you to make the trip? And he says, this is the funny part. When I added it all up, airfare, hotel, food allowance, and the fee that they paid me for my appearance, it works out to something like $850 per second. So I guess I'm the highest paid expert on the History Channel. So basically, this is because they only used 10 seconds, right, of his. So they flew him out there, all of this stuff, did all of this interviewing for almost 3 hours, and then they only used 10 seconds, right? 10 seconds where he was just if you watch this show, this episode, right, it was only him talking about the object coming down from the sky. That was it. 10 seconds. And so they spent all this money to have him go out there just for this. Tell me, why would you spend all this kind of money and then just not use any of the stuff he's talking about? It doesn't make any sense, folks, other than you're trying to suppress this story. That's the only thing I could think of here. And then finally, I asked him this question. I said, why are mainstream news outlets and entertainment companies failing to provide the full story of what happened in Las Vegas on April 30th, May 1st, 2023, in your opinion? He says, Scott writes back, he says, in my opinion, the mainstream news outlets and entertainment companies are failing to provide a comprehensive account of the events that transpired in Las Vegas on April 30th, 2023 and May 1st, 2023. They are not presenting the complete investigation findings or objectively corroborated evidence. I believe this case is too certain, too abrupt, and presents a challenge for them because they lack control over the outcome. They cannot control the participants, the experts who provided commentary, or the narrative surrounding the case. I believe the mainstream media is more interested in maintaining an open question, keeping viewers engaged and tuned in. If they were to explicitly acknowledge their involvement, they would then have to provide evidence which could lead to a loss of control. In a sense, I understand their decision to not tell the truth fully on this case, as it undermines their profit motive, their franchise, or their narrative. However, I am uncertain about the reasons behind this decision, but it appears to be an unusual approach. It seems odd, and there is a reason why I am not resigning from my position as a crime scene expert. In my opinion, the UFO business is not inherently profitable unless one is willing to engage in unscrupulous practices. So, there you go. That's from Scott Roeder. These are the questions that I asked him after this another debacle. I mean, we did a show about this when we found out about it that Ancient Aliens wanted to talk about the Las Vegas case. That Scott was excited. I was excited. I did a show about that. I know I talked about it a few times on here. I did a few shows about it. At least a couple, I think. I'm sure I talked about it. And then now we have this. Here we are again. So anybody in the public who, for most people, right, they're not going to see what I'm talking about here, right? There's just, I got a small little podcast here. They're not going to see the truth, right? They're going to see what the History Channel tells them. And according to the History Channel, right, they don't even know anything about the 1 minute and 41 second long cell phone footage. They're not even mentioning it in 2 different shows now. 2 different shows on the History Channel. Just think about it. The proof is out there, which is that it's appropriately named because the proof is not in that show. It's out there somewhere. Don't look for, I said this before, don't look to the proof is out there for anything because they're not going to tell you, right? That's to me, that's a gaslighting show. That's all that is, right? And now you have this. Now, again, I thought the entire episode was pretty good. However, I mean, this is the kind of story which you need to spend if you're going to do something on the show, on the Las Vegas case, you need to talk about it for a full hour. I mean, at least, right? I mean, this is something that the mainstream news should have been talking about. They could use the footage because it's news. It's fair use, right? It's out there. Anybody, if you're reporting news, then you could use this footage and show the world, but they're not doing it. Why? Because then everyone will know the truth. That's why. Here's what it is. Who's ever in control behind the scenes thinks that everybody out there is stupid. All they want to do is make money off commercials. They want people to think, wonder if it's real or not know that it's real, right? They don't want you to know. They want you to think about it and wonder about it, right? That's all they want. Right, this is a slow disclosure process going on right now, and this whole Vegas alien business, right? Like I talked about many times in the past, this spoiled everything for it. For this slow disclosure process, it just spoils it also. Now, what do? Instead, they just ignore it, suppress it, don't talk about it, pretend it doesn't mean anything. That's what's going on, folks. Just so everybody out there is clear, right? You've seen the episodes I've been producing on this subject over the last over a year and a half, right? I mean, we couldn't prove it until it was almost a year after the event happened. It wasn't until it was early April of this year, actually. Early April of 2024. So it's now a year and a half that's gone by, basically, and still. The biggest story of all time, nobody really knows about it unless they find this channel. And of course, most people who find this podcast, they'll see the evidence and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that I'm finally seeing the evidence." There's no denying this now, right? That's how most people are. Of course, I get some idiots and morons that come in and say, "I don't see anything," right? Of course, you're going to get that. There's just people trying to confuse other people, right? The people who don't have really good critical thinking skills. That's basically what's happening here. You have, who knows? I mean, governments, debunkers don't. This ruins the debunkers' world, right? This smashes all of their nonsense into a million pieces, this case, because now that they're shown that they've been wrong all this time, right? So there's this effort to keep this reality suppressed. They don't want this story. They want this slow disclosure. They want people to figure it out over a long, long stretch of time. They don't want people to see this, right? They don't want people to know that, hey, yeah, sometimes these things could land in your backyard when things go wrong and they could scare the hell out of you. They don't want people to know about that. Then that's too real. That hits too close to home, right? So that's what's going on here, folks, just so everyone knows. Anyway, I think it's upsetting. I'm not happy about it, but it's par for the course. It's par when you're able to prove absolutely that we are not alone. When that proof finally does arrive, this is what you get. You get suppression. I mean, just think about this. It's actually, there are some mainstream news outlets that were discussing this, like News Nation. They talked about this a few times, but they never went in depth with it. They could have provided a lot more information to their viewers, but they never do. They want to keep it a mystery, right? And then you had the best I remember was Fox News Digital. They actually did there was a series of articles. Like I think there was about 3 articles that were put on there. But after I had sent the letter to the email letter to the Pentagon and to the Department of Energy in 2024, like laying it out for the Department of Defense, laying it all out, right? After I did that, and I alerted Fox News Digital to this, all of a sudden they went off radar. They disappeared. They don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about this case anymore because they know what it means, folks. They know what it means. So the people, if you've been watching this channel, just know this, is that you have seen the evidence. You have been on this show. We have been presenting this evidence, the reality of our existence. That we are definitely not alone. It's no longer. There's no mystery anymore to that. There's a lot of mystery to this whole phenomenon, of course, right? But we have the absolute proof now that shows that we are not alone, and there's nothing anybody could do to stop that or make it go away because there's just too many people at this point who have been exposed to it. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people that have seen some of the shows I put together, and they know. So people are learning slowly, but for the most part, the rest of the world, they're going to be kept in the dark because the mainstream news and these UFO-tainment shows like Ancient Aliens and The Proof is Out There aren't going to tell them the truth. They want to keep people hanging on and wondering if it might be real or not, right? And it's probably all part of this whole slow disclosure effort. Maybe they're all part of the same team. I have no idea, right? It doesn't even matter. What matters is this, is that right? You know for a fact that the evidence is there that ends the debate. And if the History Channel, they want to do this kind of stuff and fool their people. I mean, I just like to know, like in the future, like how are people going to look back at this, right? Because as time goes on, more and more people are going to become aware of what's going on here. You know, how are they going to look back at the History Channel and say, Ancient Aliens, you had a chance to blow the lid on this, and look what you did. Look what you did. This was over. There's no more. You could have ended this debate right then and there if you would have made a decent presentation, but you didn't. You didn't. Because they're part of this cover-up. Are they all going to come out later on and admit, oh, yeah, we just didn't want to tell you. We thought you were too stupid yet. We're smart enough to understand it, but you're too stupid. Is that what they're going to say? What are they going to say? I don't know, folks. All I could say is I find it fascinating at the same time. Don't get me wrong. This is very fascinating. And I tell you another thing. I feel pretty damn good. I mean, we don't even have, you know what? There's the great part about this. The debunkers, right? They won't even talk about this. You know why? Because if they do, it's just going to put more attention on it. They're afraid to talk about it. They don't want people to go looking up the Las Vegas case. They don't want people to go online. They don't want people to find my YouTube podcast or other people's podcasts who talk about this. They don't want people to know about it. So that's why they just ignore it. It's much, much easier for them that way. Anyway, folks, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.